Okay, so reasons obviously I started this channel was to help apprentices out. Talk about the sort of behaviours that as an employer we're looking for. If someone's made the decision to take on an apprentice, it's because they need somebody that's going to make their lives easier, somebody that's going to be more helpful. They're paying for, to start off with, a lot of hassle. You're probably going to be costing them a lot of money to keep you going. For the first 3 months of my experience, apprentices are only really helpful for making teas, getting the tools off the van, tidying up. I mean, my apprentices didn't really save me any time, or they didn't save me any money, should I say. What they did is they bought me time. So instead of finishing at 8 o'clock at night, because I'm still tidying up to get the job done to move on to the next one, I've got the apprentice tidying up already at 4 o'clock, and I'd get home at 6 o'clock instead. And that's what an apprentice was buying me. They're buying me time. So as an apprentice, if you're not trying hard and you're literally just dragging your heels and you're not trying hard to think ahead and earn your money, then you're putting a lot of pressure on the person that's employing you. You want to get on. So sort of things that I used to say to my apprentices, obviously, is first thing you want to do when we get to the job, make everyone a cup of tea. Everyone's always happy when the electrician turns up and the apprentice makes a cup of tea. I used to do it even if I didn't have an apprentice, and then I would have a chat with everybody on site and say, how's it going? What's changed since we've last been here? What do I need to be aware of? And everyone's more ready to talk to you if they've got a cup of tea in their hand. And then once I've collated all that information, I would then go and have a chat to the client and say, right, okay, since we've been away, this is what's happened, this is what's new, this is our plan for today. And it even started before that, on the journey. As soon as I picked up the apprentice, on the way in, I'd be telling the apprentices, this is what we're doing today, this is the expectation, that's our plan. When we get to site, that might change. And I'll be talking through, how was college? What was going on? What have you guys been up to? And then talking, well, actually, it's funny you should mention that. We're going to be doing that next week, or we're going to be doing conduit later this week. So make sure we get some photos or whatever. So apprentices, you need to start thinking ahead. You need to start planning. It's not just about turning up and doing a day's work and getting paid. You need to start thinking like an apprentice. You need to start thinking like an electrician, and getting those thought processes in your head. And then obviously once you get the site, kettle's on, while the kettle's boiling, get the tools off the van and look after those, your employer's tools. There's nothing worse than an apprentice that loses your tools constantly, because that's money. You're costing more money than it is to not have you. It's quicker and easier if you're not there. You don't want to be in that position. You want to be useful. So get the tools off the van, get them set up. So for instance, in here, I've put kind of like, let me just spin this round. I've ignored the camera thing, but I've got I'm going to have a socket here, I'm going to have a socket here. There's going to be nothing going on underneath the window, so that's where I've put the tools, out the way. If I'm thinking ahead. There was a bit of dirt on the floor, I've hoovered it up, because I don't want to be breathing that in. Every time we're kicking it around, it's going to be kicked back up again. I've got to move this pile of wood, because there's a socket that's going to be going in there. So when you move that pile of wood, think about a logical place that it can go and sit in, where it's not going to keep getting moved. And because it's wood, you need to talk to the carpenter on site to see, can I move that wood, please? Is there a place where you would like me to put this wood? Is there any particular way you would like it stacked? It's their materials. Don't just lob it outside in the garden and let it all get wet, because then you're not looking after the other tradespeople. They'll get cross and they'll get angry, and then that gets everyone's backs up. And then if you do make a mistake where you need the carpenter to save your ass, he's not going to, or they're not going to, because why should they? You haven't thought about them. They're not going to think about you. So again, just little things. I've got a socket going in over here, so I've kept that area free. It's just working smart. I'm going to sort of talk about how to coil up a cable in a minute for the apprentices out there. I know it sounds stupid, but let me just quickly run through this. Set that there. Right, so again, apprentices, when you're putting tools away, you need to look after those tools. They're not your tools, and they, the electrician or the tradesperson that you're working with, they've invested a lot of time and money in their tools. Some of the tools that I've had since I was an apprentice, they mean a lot to me, and it annoys me when they go missing. So make sure you account for every tool that comes out of the box. Make sure they all go back in the box. When you're coiling up a cable, I better just make sure it's something like that. So when you're coiling up twin and earth, obviously make sure you're rolling it back on the drum. Use the drum to roll it back on. You're using your thumb and forefinger, kind of like this. Keep it flat, because there's nothing worse than cable coming off twisted on the drum and then trying to keep that flat, so you can, nice and neat and smooth as you're clipping it out. If it comes off the drum flat, it's easier to clip. With flexible cable, because the cores through the flex twist, this cable has a natural way to run. If I just pick this up, it doesn't. It's not going to sit. It's not going to sit flat. It's going to kick out all over the place. What you want to do is just let it all sit out behind you. Make sure you take out any knots that have appeared in the cable. So they do. But I'm putting this back through rather than just yanking on it and hoping that it works out. So I'm looking after this. What I'm doing at the same time as this as well is I'm checking that cable. I'm making sure there's no damage to it, that it's, it doesn't need repairing or it's not dangerous to use. Because you're doing two jobs, killing two birds with one stone. So I've laid it out behind me, and I know this is telling a lot of people how to suck eggs. This isn't for you guys, this is for the apprentices. Cable has a natural way that it wants to sit, flexible cable. So as you put it round, twist it in your fingers, and you'll see that the twist will then roll into the coil. Okay, so and then you want to sort of stretch that out through the cable so you lose that twist as it goes out towards the end. So again, I let it sit, rolling my fingers, and I let it sit, and then push that coil out, let it sit, and just rolling it in my fingers. And you'll see that it's all laying down nice and flat. It's not kicking out. It's not fighting against me all the time. Yeah. So look. And then that way you're looking after the cables. When you put the drills back in the toolbox, don't just chuck all the cable back in on top of it. Find a nice sized loop that's going to fit in the box, and just work that cable. We're electricians. We look after cables. That's our job. Look after your cables will look after you. It's probably a cliche and a cheesy line, but it's actually true. You don't want to get to the end of the job and getting bad test readings because you pulled your cables off really tough and hard and yanked them round corners and stretched them out and all sorts of stuff that goes on. We need to look after what we do. So, as an apprentice, look after your boss's tools, look after the cables. They're good habits to get into, and then you're checking the tools as you go as well. Look after them. I'm not saying you need to get them out and polish them every day, but if they're a bit dusty, hoover the boxes out. Little things. Rather than standing there with your hands in your pockets, make yourself look busy. So thinking about that, my boss. I've been an apprentice, so there's a few things that I could probably talk about there. Is that as an apprentice, I was literally just turning up. I'm here, aren't I? I've turned up for work. That was my level of commitment to start off with. Within 3 months, my boss told me to go get a vehicle for work, and being the age that I was, rather than thinking about what I needed for work and getting a van and being useful, being an asset to the company, I went out over the weekend and bought an Escort Cabriolet with 17-inch alloys, spent the whole weekend putting my sound system into it, turned up for work on the Monday morning, and I remember it being sunny because I turned up, I had my top off, sunglasses on, music playing, roof down, ladder shoved in the back seat kind of thing. And I turned up and my boss just looked at me and said, "What the hell are you doing?" I went, "Well, what? What have I done wrong? You told me to get a vehicle. I've got a vehicle." And you can see that's not what I meant. You need a van for work. Needless to say, I didn't last too much longer after that. they could see that I wasn't committed to the job. I wasn't thinking straight, wasn't thinking right. Within a few weeks after that, I lost my job. In hindsight, I wasn't doing enough to keep my job. I wasn't pushing myself. I remember them saying to me things like, when you go out to the van to get materials, I'd be walking along, thinking, oh, what a beautiful day. Thinking about all the stuff I'll be doing after work, thinking about the weekend, what I'll be doing with my friends, getting drunk, thinking about girls. By the time I got to the van, I'd forgotten what I was going for. So what I suggested to my apprentices after that is, when you're going out to the van to get the tools, keep saying that list over in your head: cable, clips, what size clips, wall plugs, and just keep repeating it to yourself as you go to the van. When you get to the van, say it to yourself as you're putting the stuff off, and then that final check before you turn around and go back again. When you walk with purpose. Don't walk with your hands in your pockets, with enjoying the day or anything like that. You've got a job to do, so walk with purpose. If you haven't got anything to do, find something to do. Look busy, because if your boss is charging you out to a customer and they can see you just standing there, they're thinking, why am I paying for that person to be there? They don't even need to be there, and then that gets everyone's back up. You need to look busy. Tidy the van, tidy the floor, tidy the tools, make a cup of tea. There's loads of things that you guys can be getting on with. There's no one that should be sitting there on their phone, on an app or whatever, because then you're not focused on work. You're not thinking about the job in hand. And that shows everybody that you're not committed. You're going to take ages to progress, even if you do progress. And even if you do qualify, if by drifting through, you may not even be fully committed to the job, and who needs that hassle? As an apprentice, you want to be on the ball. Think about other tradespeople as well around you. I mean, I tell this story as well because it just reminds me of what it's like to be an apprentice. So I had this apprentice once. He didn't last too long, I've got to say, because he just didn't have the right attitude. He had a real chip on his shoulder. He didn't want to start off at the bottom and work his way up. He wanted to come in at a higher level above his station. But he came in, he didn't think about the plumber. The plumber had all his boxes open along one side of the wall, and he started chasing out directly above all these boxes. All the rubble fell in the boxes. Obviously, understandably, the plumber was absolutely livid. And he was a big guy as well. It's not the sort of person you want to upset. And then his response to that was to get the electrician's tools, tip them out on the floor, screw his toolbox to the joist and fill that up with rubble. And then the apprentice then was going to do something back to the plumber, and I just pulled him to one side. I said, look, you've made a mistake. Just say sorry, clean the boxes out, and move on. Learn from that mistake and don't make that mistake again. But he wasn't he wasn't ready at the time for that. I don't know how he's got on now. Hopefully he's improved and he's got where he needs to be. But yeah, he didn't last too long after that. He actually sort of left, got the knock and left, and it is what it is. But as these stories come to me, I'll sort of talk about them as well. But apprentices, you're there for a reason. This is an amazing career. Make the most of it. Prove yourselves. Okay. Look after people, and hopefully they'll look after you. Okay, take care.